Let's start with the question. What lanes are Annie suited to? I have just started maining Annie in League of Legends. And have been told numerous things. Including, Annie goes mid. Annie is support. And, Annie goes bottom. Which ones are correct, if any? In my own experience, Annie seems to work the best down bottom. But people keep telling me different things. Should I listen to others, as I am inexperienced, or to myself? Basically, my question is, which lanes are best for Annie? So how can we solve this? There are two possible answers. Answer 1. Annie is a mage. Mages primarily are played in the mid lane, as they tend to need solo experience and gold to get ahead. Annie particularly does well mid as she has a point-and-click stun. So she can easily roam top or bot and use her burst to help kill the side laners. However, Annie can also be played support, as her stun gives her good utility to help in 2v2 fights. If she uses her W or R, she can potentially stun both enemy laners. Some people also play her top, where she can do decently into some matchups as she has a fairly strong laning phase. To make up for not being able to roam as much as mid-lane Annie, most people take teleport instead of ghost, which is popular as a mid-lane summon a spell. So, in short, she can be played top, mid, or support, but in the current meta is strongest as a mid-laner. Note: some people also play her ADC because of her long auto-attack range. But it is rare, and she is much weaker in that role than other standard ADCs. Answer 2. As Dragon Rage pointed out in his answer, Annie can be played on pretty much any lane. Even in jungle, but I wouldn't recommend doing this in a serious game. Annie's strongest lane depends on your personal playstyle, but keep in mind that statistically her strongest lane is mid lane. I'm only covering mid and support here since the other lanes are purely situational. Annie mid lane is by far Annie's most played lane, and as of writing this question she has the third highest win rate of any mid lane champion. One of the reasons she's extremely strong mid is her Q. If you last hit a minion with your Q, you will get your mana back and the cooldown is reduced to 2 seconds instead of 4. This not only allows you to farm easily, it also builds stacks of your passive, which can put a lot of pressure on your opponent, especially if they have no vision on your jungler. Not only is her laning phase relatively strong, she also has a lot of snowballing potential and can set up ganks easily. Her passive stun also makes her great at ganks and roaming in general, and mid lane is the best lane to play a roamer since you can help your jungler go bot or top. Her only weakness is her lack of a gap closer, and once you burn your flash you might be very vulnerable against strong mid gankers like Shaco or Lee Sin. As core items there are two options when playing mid: full snowball app with a Morello, Hextech Protobelt start, or a slower scaling but safer Rod of Ages start. Annie bot lane. Annie isn't as strong as she used to be. She's played as either an app or tank support, but there are quite a few weaknesses to her kit on bot. She is relatively low range compared to other supporters. She is extremely squishy and will almost certainly die if she gets caught by CC, which makes counterpicking her easy. She can get some serious mana issues when playing aggressive, since you shouldn't be stacking your stun by last hitting minions. There are simply much stronger picks right now. Zyra does basically the same with delayed CC but more damage and range, and other app supporters have either more CC or more heals utility. That being said, she can still be a viable pick, especially on lower rankings. Support Annie is amongst the top 3 strongest supporters when it comes to level 6 burst. As soon as you hit 6 you can basically one-shot an ADC all by yourself. Up until then however you have to play carefully. It's still extremely important that you poke your enemies with auto attacks and spells but, depending on the enemy support, an error in positioning can mean a free kill for them since you are so fragile. Keep in mind that support Annie will never come close to the gold of a mid lane one. So your go-to build is redemption into full tank, effectively making you a stun bot. Now if you are ahead you can risk it and go for a more AP-heavy build, but one slot should always be occupied by Sightstone. Now as I've already mentioned, you might be a better support than mid player. Or the other way around. Which makes Annie automatically stronger in that lane. At least for you. Mid lane and support have completely different carry playstyles, and if you like her bot the most, go ahead and play her. It's certainly possible to reach a high rank with her on bot lane. But keep in mind that her overall potential is greatest in playing mid. At least until Riot decides to throw the meta around again. I hope these answers helped, and if they did, please drop a comment and subscribe.